All right, looks like we are live. I'm just going to make sure.
My name is Chris Shimatronka.
Okay, we are streaming on YouTube, just double checking. And want to, hi, hello, Natalie. I want to just say hello to those of you who are coming on. I know it takes a little bit of time for us to populate, but I want to just welcome to all of you who are here. And do go ahead and say hello in the chat, whether you're on YouTube or on Facebook, and just let us know where you're coming in from. What part of the world are you coming in from? And and we will dive into what we're going to talk about today. So I am excited to be here with you today. I am Maggie Ostara. I'm a human design expert and quantum human design expert, and the creator of the 8 Pillars of Feminine Sovereignty. And I'm really delighted to get to connect with you today about an alignment that's happening this weekend. And it feels to me like we are really kind of just getting one powerful astrological alignment after the next. And so they just kind of keep coming, keep coming, keep coming. And so it's good for us to pay attention to them because they do provide a variety of different opportunities for us to really maximize the benefits that come to us from these different alignments, and also to watch out for potential pitfalls that we can fall into, ways that we can fall into shadow expressions, ways we can become disempowered. And so when we're able to be tuning in and paying attention to what's going on, it can really help us. So let me just say at the outset, I think we're going to go just about an hour today. If there's a desire for conversation or connection after that, I'm fine hanging on and chatting with you as you desire. But what I have to share with you is going to be just about an hour today. And also make sure you have a pen or markers and a notebook or a piece of paper, just so that you can be making some notes for yourself, because there's going to be a point where I'm just going to give you an exercise to engage with so that you can start applying what I'm talking about to your own life, and you can take this a conversation a little bit deeper for yourself. And let's see, what else was I going to say? I think that was the main thing with that. Yeah. So today we are going to be diving into a particular alignment that has to do with the gate 60. So let's just get a little bit of a context for the gate 60. So the gate 60 is in the knowing circuit. It is in the root center. And Pluto has been going in mostly in the 60, but going a little bit in and out more recently for quite a while. I mean, Pluto really first went in briefly into the gate 60 in March 2021. And then came back out again, back into the 61, and then has been more or less full on in the 60 since January 15th, 2022. So this is over 2 years. Going through the different lines of the gate 60, if you're familiar with that in human design, there are lines for each of the gates. So it's been moving through the different lines. So there's been a little bit of a different flavor, but it's still been full on in that gate 60. Before that, Pluto was really in the gate 61, which is the gate of wonder. It's the beginning of the knowing circuit. The 60 is in the root. That's also in the knowing circuit. And so we've had a lot of emphasis by Pluto, and actually by most of the outer planets, on the in the knowing circuit. So the knowing circuit is individual circuitry. It's here to be different. It's here to bring change. It's where the evolutionary impulse of humanity runs through the human design chart. So we're getting a lot of emphasis from Pluto, who is the god of the underworld, in the knowing circuit. And so when Pluto was in the 61, it was really asking, are you downloading? Are you paying attention to the new possibilities and potentials and the downloads that are available to you from super consciousness? Are you paying attention to this? Because Pluto will kind of keep shining a light on something until we pay attention. And if he doesn't, it's a little bit of Phoenix energy. It's like, okay, let's just burn some stuff down so we can get your attention, so that you'll be focusing on this. And then Pluto moved into the 60. Let me just talk about those two gates a little bit. The 61 is very expansive. Like I said, it's up here. It's really up on the crown, reaching up into super consciousness, right? And so it's full. It's very expansive. It's very much. It's the gate of wonder in quantum human design or mystery in traditional human design. So it's very expansive. It's very receptive. It's receiving what's coming in from super consciousness. Where the 60 is, like I said, is at the bottom. So the energy comes in through the top, splits around in the knowing circuit, then comes back up through the central channel. And as it's doing that, it's going through that gate 60, which I said is like it's at the bottom of the root. And the 60 is known as limitation in the I Ching, or conservation, or acceptance. So it's more of a contracting energy. I like to think of it more as discernment than really contracting. A lot of times it's interpreted as being really contracting, but I think that it is another way to think about it is that it's kind of focus and discerning. So what of these new innovations and possibilities and potentials that we've been receiving through the knowing circuit do we want to bring forward? Do we want to innovate with? Do we want to create a new foundation with? And Pluto's been really asking us this over the last couple of years. And we've seen during this time increasing polarization. We've been seeing, war has come out in the last couple of years. We've got a number of very significant wars happening now, which we did not have a few years ago, right? And so there's this conflict that can come up with this intensity about discerning how are we going to move forward into the future. So to add another layer to this is Pluto is also in Capricorn at the 29th degree. Now, let me just say that I am not an astrologer. I do not claim to be an astrologer. I've studied astrology. I like to listen to astrologers. My favorite astrologer these days is Pam Gregory, but there's a lot of great astrologers out there. And so I encourage you to be paying attention to people who really are experts in astrology, which I am not. I'm a human design expert. And so I understand that lens more than I do astrology, but I do like to tap into it, particularly when it has something that really illuminates what we're looking at from a human design point of view as well. So Pluto is in this 29th degree of Capricorn, which is why we get, tomorrow. It's actually tonight because it's at 3 a.m. Tomorrow morning is the full moon. So it's really the full moon tonight. And I know when I looked at the moon last night, it looked really pretty darn full to me last night. So we're already in this energy. The thing about the moon in human design is it moves through gates very quickly. It goes through like 2, sometimes 3 gates in a day. So the moon is not yet in the gate 60, but it will be in the early hours of tomorrow in Pacific time. So you can see whatever time that is, wherever you are in the world. But nonetheless, we're still getting this real emphasis on the gate 60, and the Earth moved into the gate 60 yesterday with the transit that started yesterday. So not only do we have Pluto in the 60, but we're going to have the full moon in the 60, and we're going to have the Earth in the 60. And so it's important to understand that the moon and the sun are always opposite each other during a full moon. They're always together during a new moon, which is why we don't see the new moon, because it's actually traveling right with the sun, and the sun is so bright. And then with the full moon, they're opposite. And so we get the full light of the sun on the moon, and that's why we get a full moon. So they're at the opposite ends of the human design mandala, and also of the day, if you will. So because the full moon is rising as the sun is setting, so they're at the opposite ends of the day as well. So having said all that, just again, the gate 60. So the gate 60 is really kind of, if we think of Pluto coming into the 60 after the 61, we've had this really expansive, full of possibility, lots of potentials, mutations, changes coming in through that 61. And then the 60 is like, okay, what are we actually going to keep? What are we going to use? And what is going to break down? And if we look at this in terms of Capricorn is, Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, And so Saturn is the great teacher, and he's the great teacher of discipline. And so one of the things to be thinking at this 29th degree, because this 29th degree, according to the astrologers, is the energy can get very intense. And the thing is that Pluto's like been there, right? And then moved a little bit into the 41, which is Aquarian energy, and then moving back into this Capricorn energy. So we've been getting this Capricorn, Aquarian, and we keep saying, "Oh my gosh, it's the Aquarian age now," right? Well, we keep moving back a little bit and going, okay. So it's a little bit of a tease, because at the 29th degree, we're kind of like, okay, let's wrap up these loose ends that we've been, of what we've been working with these 2 years of Pluto being in the 60. Or however long Pluto's been in Capricorn. It's been quite a while, right? We got to wrap up those loose ends, right? What does that mean in terms of our empowerment and our authority and our relationship to institutions, and to structures and so on, right? Because when kind of the negative view of Capricorn a lot of times is that it's conservative, that it is it's kind of holding on to the old. It's not really, doesn't really like change. And that Capricorn can be a bit of a like stand behind the old order kind of energy. I don't really see Saturn that way. I really see Saturn as being like, what are the structures that are going to support us? And what are the institutions that are going to support us? And what do we need to break apart from the way that we've done things in the past, to be able to move forward to where we want to go in the future? But being on this cusp, if you will, right? This cusp is also can create disruption. It can create anxiety. It can create stress. It can be pretty confusing for us at times, right? Because we know we're moving into the new, but the old is still there, and some of it's grabbing on and digging in its heels and saying, no, we don't want to change. We want to go back to an old order. You've probably been seeing that this is happening, certainly in the United States, happening in Western Europe, and I'm sure it's happening, and I know it's happening in other parts of the world as well. So I just want to ask you, and if you want to just pop this in the chat, it's like, have you been feeling distress or anxiety, or this sense of urgency lately, urgency for change, urgency to get things done, urgency to make sure that things are taken care of? And is that creating any like kind of tension inside of you? I know I've been hearing this from people. A lot of us are kind of going, gosh, I know that things are changing and I know they need to change, but there's almost like almost like a stationing that also happens, right? Because we're not really quite moving forward yet. We're still looking at how do we do that. So I'd love to hear from you if you're in a place where you can communicate, just to be like, hey, how is that feeling for you? What is showing up for you in your life? We're going to do an exercise in a couple of minutes that's going to help you to be working with that energy a little bit more, so that you can move some of that energy. You can open up the path a little bit more for yourself, make it a little more clear. So if you can just be kind of tuning into that for yourself, I'm going to share a little bit of a story from my own life, because I was reflecting on this, because this is always, whenever I'm sharing, teachings and perspectives like this with you, I'm doing it myself. Like, I'm working myself with it as well. And so I am definitely in it with you. And I love the way that it gives me some perspective about what's going on. So, like I said, this is really kind of a call for us from Pluto, which is getting heightened by the Earth coming in, right? Saying, okay, where are you going to ground yourself? What's going to be your new foundation, right? Because the Earth is our foundation, right? If you think about that, right? The Earth is like what we have to rely on in our material world is our Earth, right? And then the moon is lighting this up and saying, what has been in the darkness that you haven't seen, right? Because the full moon can be shining a light on things that have been more in the shadow, that we haven't really seen. right? The full moon is also a culmination, right? It's like the culmination of the expansion of the light of the moon, right? So it's the brightest that it gets, and then it starts to wane after the full moon. So this is a like a crescendo experience. And honestly, we had a crescendo experience last month with the solstice and the first Capricorn full moon, because this is the second one in Capricorn, which is very unusual. So we had a bit of a crescendo there. So, like I said, we're really getting worked by these energies. So, um, one way to be thinking about this is how are you being called for yourself to really step into your own authority, to step in to empower yourself from within, to not be looking so much outside to yourself for empowerment or to be looking to the powers that be for authority, but to be really kind of turning that back inside into that personal empowerment. And this is part of that change from Capricorn into Aquarius. And so some of the questions you might be looking at are what are some of the things that you how are you with your personal discipline, right? Where are you, for example, I'm a big advocate of having a daily spiritual practice, right? Where are you with your daily spiritual practice? Are you making time for yourself every day to meet yourself first, to love yourself and care for yourself, work with your energy, hear what's going on inside of yourself, really get grounded in what's true for you? I always advocate doing energy practices, which is why, and I'm going to give you some energy work for us to do in a couple of minutes. Energy practices that help us to raise our frequency, right? Which is why I always bring in Kundalini yoga and breath practices, because we want to be able to be raising our frequency as high as possible. And that gives us more command in our lives. It gives us all more personal authority. It gives us more confidence and more clarity, the ability to really source inside ourselves for the guidance that we need rather than relying on things outside of ourselves. So in that sense, we really want to be building up our own energy and meeting ourselves, so that we know what's going on inside. So this is something that I advocate in terms of a personal discipline. You may have a different version that you do for your spiritual practice or your personal discipline. But I do think that that's a great thing to do. I mean, like if you tend to just go for a run or go to the gym or something, having something where you really are meeting yourself in a more focused and kind and loving way. Not that going for a run isn't loving, but I just mean some way that you're really bringing all of you to that meeting place with yourself, I think is a great personal discipline to have. But to be looking at, do you have a personal discipline that really supports you? Because there's so much challenge and chaos that's going on in the outer world. We can just, I mean, if you're paying mostly attention to that, you could just be going like this out there. Wow, what do I even believe? Right? What kind of news do I believe? Right? Like, there's just so much going on out there. And so coming back into the self here, I'm just going to say hello to those of you who've been over here chatting. And I'm gonna look at these more when I give you a writing exercise, and then I'll comment then. So just know I know that these are here. Please do continue to post as you if there's any ahas, anything that I share with you that you're like, oh wow, yeah, you can just put like an exclamation or anything you want in the chat just to recognize and signal. And that way I know you're there too. And I want to just say hi to the people who've been joining us, because I can see more and more people are joining us. So welcome. I'm glad you're here. And I also want to just say hi to those of you watching the replay, because I know that there'll be a bunch of you doing that as well. Okay. I'm going to take a sip of water. I get excited. I talk fast. I know people sometimes say, you talk so fast, Maggie. It's because I get excited talking to you. Okay. So let me just see. Yeah. So Personal discipline is one piece, right? But then also, what is our relationship to the structures of our lives? Like, what structures have you been living inside of? If you work in a corporation, for example, you're living and working inside of the structure of that corporation. Or I live inside of the structure of the government of the town I live in and the county and the state and the country that I live in, right? Those are all governmental structures. So we know about those things. Those are all collective circuitry. But then there's also belief systems, right? And this is a structure that we live inside of. It's an invisible structure, but no less powerful because it's invisible. It's actually inside ourselves, and it structures the way that we see the world. It's like our filter or our default lens, right? Is our belief system. So what belief system have you been living inside of? What kind of programming have you been living inside of, or conditioning have you been living inside of, right? And is that serving you? Is there some way that you want to upgrade that, or you want to up level that? Right? This is a great time for that. And you maybe have been feeling stress or pressure or urgency around creating change on the inside, right? Because we feel this both individually and collectively. Because remember, we're a microcosm of the macrocosm, right? And so you get to work with this in the structure of your own life. And then as you do that, you also help to create new pathways and new templates for other people in the collective. So never doubt that your personal growth work is a vital contribution to the evolution of humanity and the evolution of the whole, because we're all interconnected on the inner planes, right? We're all expressions of divine source energy. And so we actually do really all influence each other, not in ways that we necessarily understand in ordinary reality, but energetically and through the unified field, we absolutely do. So I want to encourage you to be doing your own work around this, knowing that it's actually super beneficial for the whole. So I want to just share with you a little bit about my experience with this, because I started working with this for myself. And what I realized was over the last few years, because I know that Pluto was also just supercharging that 61, but really the last 6 months, I've been feeling this pressure. Last 6 months, pressure to change my business model, which is the structure that I live and work inside of all the time. And I didn't really know how I wanted to do it. You know, I knew that as my book came out, that I was going to want to change my business model to a degree. But even that was like, oh, it's not quite it. What is it? I've kind of just been living in the inquiry of it. This is another great reason that having a spiritual practice is really helpful, because it helps you live in the inquiry that you have. You get to keep coming back to it over and over again, so that you get to receive that inner guidance and have it just unfold for yourself. So I've been leaning into that and wondering, and because I've been teaching most of my adult life, and I've evolved my understanding about teaching and transformation and growth and development tremendously over that period of time. And so now at this stage of my life, it's been like, okay, how do I want to make my contribution? And so I've been really feeling this pressure, to be asking those questions and to be living into that. And I have been wondering about that, because I created last year, actually just about a year ago, I created my Embody Your Human Design program, which has been awesome. That ran for 5 months at the end of last year. And then I also created the Explorers Club, which grew out of my book. And we're just completing that now. So I created these two kind of major programs, which I will continue to offer in updated forms moving forward into later this year and then in 2025. But what I've really felt was I want to support a larger group of people, because the more in-depth programs come at a higher investment level in terms of money and time and energy. So I wanted to create more of a foundation for the growth and development of our personal sovereignty and our sovereign stewardship, based in human design and Kundalini yoga and intentional creativity. And so the evolution of community has been really important to me because, as the world becomes more and more polarized, it is harder to navigate, right? If you just think about, one side is way over there and one side's way over there, navigating gets to be really hard. And the kind of imperative out there to choose a side and, fight with your enemies, and like that's all really strong out there. How do we navigate all that, right? And so, not wanting to foster war, not wanting to foster violence, wanting to find new ways for us to actually be in community with each other and work with each other, right? It's like, how do we do that? And the thing is that it's the outer world, the energies, the comments, the context, all of that. It's really intense. And so how do we have containers of support for ourselves inside of which we can be really holding ourselves accountable to tuning into our inner guidance, how we can support each other in that practice, because it takes a lot of intention to really be tuning inside and not be paying attention so much to what's outside. It takes practice, and a community of support is really helpful. Let me just take a look at my notes here for a second, because I feel like, yeah. So for me, I mean, I have been offering, courses, right, for many years, and courses and programs and so on. And so I'm looking at creating something that is different than that. In terms of, that's not a course, but is more of a containers of support, more community, because all of the energy going into that Aquarian age, yes, it is about personal empowerment. Yes, it is about personal authority, but it's not individualism. And this is important. It's not the individualism that in the United States, certainly, and I think in a lot of the Western world, decided that sovereignty, personal sovereignty, really meant I can do anything I want. As long as I don't kill somebody, I can do anything I want, so it's important to make a distinction as we're leaning into our personal empowerment and into our sovereignty, that we're not doing that through individualism, because individualism is very much embedded in the story of progress that would make us believe that the signs of our success, for example, are just being able to consume more. Like this is part of the old order that we have to break apart. We have to change the way that our economy works, because our planet can't sustain it. Right? Our planet can't sustain it. And so as we get more present to that, and as we refuse to either just be distracted or overwhelmed or in despair, right? Which is what developing our personal sovereignty, our personal empowerment helps us to be able to really kind of address what's happening there. Then, then what do we do, right? Well, we come together in communities of purpose and practice, because inside of a community like that, we're supported in our individuality, we're supported in our personal sovereignty, but we're also coming together to create new relationships that are based in purpose and in practice and in passion. And so this is what's led me to be creating the Sovereign Sisterhood, which is going to be opening next month in August, but really in September. We've got beta happening. If this is something that you're curious about, you want to know more about, I encourage you to come and join us in the Becoming Sovereign Quantum Retreat Center, which you can join now for free. And Alex is going to put the link for that in the chat so that you can just copy and paste that and go check it out. It is free to join. At that level, we'll have another more developed level that'll start being unfolded, which will be the Sovereign Sisterhood. But if you come in, you'll be among the first to know about all of those new developments. And you can come in as an early adopter if you choose to, and become a founding member for September if that's something that appeals to you. Because for me, the way that we're going to make it through this birth canal, if you will, birthing into this new world, is by being in communities that support our individual and our personal empowerment, our personal expression, and also give us support from each other, opportunities to provide support for each other, to share and to witness. I have done this in the in-depth programs that I've done over this last year. I've really seen how this can grow inside of an online community, and I've been very heartened by that. And so now I want to bring it out to a much larger population, that because I know a lot of people come like to my YouTube channel who are in different parts of the world, and they may not have $1,500 or $3,000 to invest in a program with me, right? But they can invest something of a smaller amount to come and work together. So I really am looking for the right combination to be supportive for people, to provide a great container. Yes, it will have courses inside of it. It already has courses in it. I've been building it out, but it's also an opportunity for you to really connect and be with others. So you'll be hearing more from me about that. But I'm just saying, this came out of what's happening with this Gate 60, right? Because I have been creating all these different, smaller programs and bigger programs and ways that people can connect. And I'm like, okay, I've got this big kind of repertoire, right? Big library of courses that I've developed, but how do I actually put that into something that's going to be a foundation for moving forward for me as the facilitator and the teacher, and for you as people in my community? And so that's what this community is. So this is an example from my life, and how this has really been, it's been a powerful force moving through my own experience with my business. I don't have the Gate 60 defined in my chart. So Pluto in there has been really strong for me. And I can feel now the earth coming in, being like, what's the foundation, right? And then the moon, even more. So let's just all take a breath for a moment. Mm. Let's rub our hands together. Just charging your hands a little bit, reaching up, calling light to yourself, charging yourself with light. A part of you already knows how to do this. Don't worry about it if you're afraid you don't know how to do it. I'm just reaching up with my hands and calling light in. Imagining a vortex of light coming in between your arms and spiraling right down, right into the crown of your head. Supercharging you with light from your own soul energy, incarnating a little bit more of your soul energy right now. Okay, bringing your hands together. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to just give you a prompt and have your pen and your journal or a piece of paper. You can also draw this if you choose, because some of you may be more visual that way. I encourage you to do something with your hand. So rather than writing this in a computer or a phone, if you can, is to actually pick up a pen. Your brain works differently when you've got a pen or a marker or something in your hands than when you are working on a computer. And just to reflect for yourself, okay? Let's reflect for yourself about what are the pressures that you've been feeling inside yourself. Where has the stress come from? When you look at what you've been doing, what are the structures you've been living inside of, right? Whether those ones are external, right? Or whether they're more internal. So I named a couple of the external ones, like if you work in a company, for example, and companies, of course, are all of all different sizes, right? And they have very different characters depending on what size the companies are. But taking a look at that and saying, okay, what structures have I been living inside of? And then what belief system have I been living inside of, right? And where has the pressure been for change around that? And then if you have a sense of it already, what do you feel like you're moving into? What do you feel like is birthing through you? Like I mentioned, for me, I was like, a new form needs to be birthed through me. I could feel that coming in, and now it's actually coming into form, which is what the sovereign sisterhood is it's a new form. And so for you, what are there new forms that are coming into being? Are there new attributes of your belief system that you like? I've had to actually definitely work on my belief system in order to create this foundation for sure. And I will share more about that in the sisterhood when we get together. But just to say, we evolve ourselves on multiple levels. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to give you 2 minutes to write for yourself uh, about what it is that's arising for you in response to what I've just been sharing. Okay, go ahead. I'm going to read your comments over here. Love this comment. Okay, so wrapping up what you're writing about, I would love if any of you are willing, wanting or willing to share anything that came up for you just in your writing. And also, just know if you have like a new thing, because what we want to be doing here is just noticing what we need to complete, what needs to be resolved. Are there loose ends that need to be attended to? Are there crises that need to be completed and wrapped up? Are there conversations that need to be had? Are there places inside of myself that need to be attended to? Right. So there's that piece. But then the other is, what are we giving our energy to that we're moving into? What is it that we want to create? And personally, I really live my life based on what Buckminster Fuller says, which is right. It's way more effective rather than fighting the old order, which is to create a new world order or a new paradigm that makes the old one obsolete. So that's really where I put my energy, and I'm not interested in being in the polarization and the fighting. Like that's not energy I want to be a part of. So I always look for what can I create, which is embodying and offering really my foundation that I have for the new world, right? And to see who wants to come and, play with me in that. And so that's what I do. And so I'm really affirming that for myself. And as we go into the practice we're going to do in a minute, I'm affirming for myself the power of this new foundation for myself and the people who want to participate. So if you're wanting or willing, you can pop in the chat here. what it is that you are wanting to bring into being, if you have an understanding of that, or even if you just have a feeling about it, right? Because we can witness you right here. You can share, and we can witness you, and we can be like, yes, 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 we got our hands on your back, right? And this is also what we do inside of the online community that we have, and is a big part of the sovereign sisterhood that'll be operating, is the way that we share and we witness and we support each other. Because my experience is most people have not been seen and heard and really acknowledged the way that they really want to and the way they really deserve. Okay. All right. Anybody got something they want us to acknowledge for them or energize for them? Are you being shy? Okay, here we've got CT Smith says, I think mine is to share my perspective on self healing and how to live in a higher frequency while still digesting life. Yes, awesome. Okay, so we're all going to help hold the energy for her or they to for stepping into that in their life. Okay. Um, and here we have Kitsy is leaving behind generational disjunction. I think you meant dysfunction. Absolutely. This is such an important time to be breaking ancestral patterns. Absolutely. Thank you for bringing this up, Kitsy, because that is definitely an aspect of what's happening with this alignment right now. Okay. Yeah, I know dysfunction. Um, yeah. And so Ronnie is expressing beauty. Love that. Okay. And Jen is I have reams of poetry and art I want to share as a healing for the world. Yes, Jen. Awesome. Creativity, art always lead the way into a new world order. Right? It's not political. That's not where it starts. It starts in the art. It always starts in art. It always starts in creativity. So right on, Jen. Good for you. Um, and oops. And Kitsy says, I'm writing novels about modern heroine spiritual journeys. Oh, that's great. All right. Well, Kitsy, I sure hope that if you're not already in the Becoming Sovereign Quantum Retreat Center, that you come in, you join the Sovereign Circle, if you Sovereign Sisterhood, if you want to, but certainly come in there and let us know about your novels so that we can receive from you. That sounds awesome. Okay. And Paula, I've been surviving as a psychic and hugely under earning since the pandemic, due to the sporadic nature of this work and trying to stay spiritual while in a state of lack. That Paula, that is such a high practice, and we all really need to do it. And it said, belief systems. I still believe light workers are somehow not supposed to make a lot of money, have abundance, and make a difference in the world. That's a really good aspect of your belief system to be upgrading for yourself, Paula, because I just want to affirm for you, you're doing important work helping people in the world. You absolutely deserve to receive compensation for that. Absolutely. Okay, let's do two more and then we're going to do this little practice. Nanny says, my dream to bring back more mindfulness to people. Yes. Awesome. Absolutely something that we need. And then, okay, Ronnie says, why aren't you letting me? There we go. Okay. Love, art, and creativity always lead. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they do. And so let me just say, you can tell I'm totally into art. I use art all the time, right? It's the cover to my book. This is what I did for Embody Your Human Design. I use art as part of my manifesting process all the time. And this is also what we'll be doing. Some of that we'll be doing in the Sovereign Sisterhood as well. Okay, great. Thank you for sharing all of that. And what I want to do is I want to lead you through a short but potent breath, Kundalini yoga sequence that you can do totally sitting in a chair. The only thing I would say is just don't do anything that, if you're injured, like if you have a shoulder injury, we're going to do a shoulder thing. If you have a shoulder injury, then just take care of yourself, right? Modify however you need to. And if you need to just visualize for yourself, that's okay. So I'm going to lead you through just a little tuning in meditation. And then I want you just to follow my lead in terms of the exercise that we're going to do. Okay. So as we're doing this, you want to just be bringing in whatever it is of the new that you want to be energizing. So you don't want to be focusing on the thing that you're leaving behind. You want to focus on the thing that you're bringing in. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to supercharge our own solar energy by breathing in and out through the right nostril. A lot of times we just do the left nostril because it's calming. So this is energizing. And I'm going to do this with breath of fire. And if you know breath of fire, you can do it with me. If you don't, simply use it, do a long, deep breath. Or if you're menstruating or you're pregnant, you do a long, deep breath. It's all very powerful. And we're just going to do this for 2 minutes. So this is the first part. So we're going to take the left hand and the left thumb, and we're just going to put it and close the left nostril. And we're just going to breathe in and out through the right nostril. So with breath of fire, it looks like this. If you're doing long, deep breath, you're just going to breathe in and out. And this is going to charge our solar energy. Okay, here we go. Just holding in your heart and in your mind's eye that which you're bringing into being. Focusing your mind, not allowing it to jump around into the future or the past. Focusing right in the center of your head and your belly. You're doing great. Stay with it. About another minute to go, a little less. Focus, focus, focus. And big breath in and hold. You can relax your hand down, close your eyes, tune in. Just gathering the energy at the base of the spine, pushing it up into the center of the brain. And gently exhale and just pause for a moment and notice how you feel. Tuning into the energy on the right side of your head and all around your head. Energy in your belly. Being very still. Good. And then I want you to take your hands and kind of cup them like this. And imagine for yourself that whatever it is that you're wanting to bring in is in this container of your hands. Okay. You're going to create it as energy. Just imagine it If this is unfamiliar to you, just go with me here. Use your imagination, which is part of your creativity, right? It's part of your intuitive faculties, is imagining as energy. So for me, I can start, even if I'm saying it, I can start to feel and sense a ball of light growing in my hands. So for you, you may or may not feel anything, but I'm just imagining this sovereign sisterhood right here in my hands. Okay, so for whatever it is for you, if it's a project, if it's a new way of thinking, whatever it is, and I want you to just kind of bring it right here into your heart. Just bring it right here into your heart. Take a breath in, breathe it into your heart. Good. Place the left hand over your heart and your right hand over that. Close your eyes for a moment and breathe. Breathing it right into your heart so that your heart becomes the container. Okay, now we're going to do Prana Shakti, which is a practice that is going to bring a lot of energy into your heart. So it's going to really energize what you were just imagining. And it does require a lot of shoulder work. So like I said, if you have a shoulder injury, then do modify for yourself. You can just imagine it. Take breaks if you need to. A bunch of you have already done this with me, so come along. We're going to do 108. So the way that this is, the hands are splayed. We're going to come up into that position we were using before, and we're going to drop the arms, the elbows down into the side of the body. Okay. And we're going to do that 108 times. The breath is strong. This is only a minute long. It goes quite quickly. If you can't keep up with me, that's totally fine. Do it at your own pace. And just know that as you're doing this, you're really thinking about light and energy of the highest frequency that you can tap into coming into your heart to be supercharging this project or this way of being or this belief system or whatever it is that you want to be bringing through as your contribution at this time into birthing the new world. Okay, Prana Shakti 108 times. Here we go. $30. 60. I can, I will, I must. 90. Charging your projects, charging what you're bringing into the world. And breathe up. Bring the fingertips of the hands together and still reach up. Breathe and pull all the energy together in the pelvic floor. Push it up the front of the spine into the center of the head and hold. So hold here as long as is comfortable and exhale when you need to. Turn the palms outward, reach outward as you exhale. Take your time, palms up in your lap as you complete, and just notice how you feel. Be very still so that the prana can settle. And just noticing the quality of your energy, how it's changed. And then we're going to do one last breath piece here. And it's just a couple minutes. And what you want to do is I'm going to get my glasses on. Take your hands and put them on the top of your head. And you're not pushing down. If you get tired, you could rest your hands, but the idea here is that they're resting lightly on top of your head, and what you're doing is you're pulling energy up to your crown. So basically, we've been building energy in the lower body, we've been supercharging here in the heart, and then we're going to be bringing the energy up into the center of the head, actually back here, so that this is going to help supercharge again the things that we're creating, the projects, the new beliefs, whatever, the art that we're doing, whatever it is, that we're supercharging now with the energy of the pineal gland, that's happening up here in the head, so that we can really expand it. Okay. All right. So here we go. The breath is it's a little bit interesting. So yeah, let's do this breath. Okay. So we're going to do a breath where we breathe 4 strokes in and then 1 exhale out. 4 strokes in and exhale out. So it's 1 inhale. Okay. It's not 4 separate inhales. It's 1 inhale broken into 4 pieces and then 1 exhale. And when we do this, we're really consolidating this energy. Okay. So the hands are going to be up here, and you can follow along with me to begin with. And then if you want to do this on your own time, if your time is a little bit different, we're going to do it for just like 2 minutes. And as you're doing this, you're imagining that you're really bringing light into your head, light into your heart, and that you're bringing more attention and the highest frequency energy that you can tap into to supercharge your projects. Okay, here we go. Relaxing your shoulders, tuning in. Stay with it another 30 seconds or so. And exhaling all the way. Go ahead and bring your hands down into your lap, palms up, and just tune in for a moment. Noticing how you feel in your body, your physical body, your energy body, your emotional body, your mental body. Just tuning in. How are you feeling right now? What are you noticing? These pauses at the end of the exercises is really important. It's kind of like a little mini shavasana where you allow the energy to consolidate and integrate. Because if you just move on, you disperse the energy, and you may not have, might as well not even have done the exercise. So right now we're just tuning in, we're allowing the prana to go where it goes. And also the invitation is to memorize this quality of energy. Memorize the quality of energy. This is part of a daily spiritual practice, is to raise your frequency this way on a regular basis so that you raise your set point where you start each day. Okay, good. Let's go ahead and rub our hands together. Reaching up, charge yourself with light. Move your body around a little bit. Good. Let's bring our hands together. Thank you for joining me in this practice today and joining me for this live stream. I would love to hear from any of you who are wanting or willing. Just anything you'd like to share from what we talked about today. If you have any questions about what I shared or about what's happening with this alignment, I'll do the best I can. Like I said, I'm not an astrologer, but I'll do the best I can. Some of you may be more astrologers than I am. Yeah, but again, I'd love to hear anything that is arising for you or any response that you have. I know for me, I just feel a lot of energy like in my whole system kind of vibrating. Feels really good. All right, I'm going to go see what other comments I haven't already checked out first. Okay, so we saw that one. Okay, and Natalie already said, moving into a position of leadership, leaving a structure with too much conflict. Yes, so that was part of her her desire from before. Okay, great. All right, thank you. I'm so glad you thought it was wonderful. Great. Yeah, awesome, wonderful practice to do for yourself. Okay. Okay. Our galactic elf says she'll watch the rest later. Okay, that's fine. Okay, Paula says her body is tingling. Kitsy, can you say what you mean? How do I don't think you completed your thought there. How do I connect with? Yeah, I'd love to know what else you were thinking there. Okay. Okay. And Ronnie's saying being more in sync with nature's cycles. This is such an important thing for us to be doing as we're birthing our new world. Our technological world, really the last couple hundred years has fostered us being separate from believing that we're somehow separate from the natural world. We are the natural world. Right? We are nature. We're not separate from it, but this is part of an unhealthy belief system to believe that we are somehow, nature's out there and we're human beings and we're somehow separate. And so one of the great ways to break down and undo that really unhelpful belief system is exactly what you're saying, Ronnie, which is to be looking at, what are the cycles in nature? When does the sun come up? When does it go down? What's happening with the moon? What's happening with the seasons? And paying attention to when it gets dark and not staying up for like 6 hours after it gets dark, that kind of thing. Right. Thank you for mentioning that. Okay. And Jen says she loved it. And oh, Kitsy, awesome. She says, okay, wanting to know how to connect with others in sisterhood, other creatives in sisterhood. Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is part of why I'm creating the Sovereign Sisterhood is that I want us to find ways to be connecting with each other. This is not going to be like the Maggie show, right? I mean, I'll be there. I'll be facilitating. I'll do the things that I do. But what I really want is for us to create a vibrant container inside of which y'all can be connecting with each other and supporting each other and letting each other know about what you're doing with your lives, your businesses, your relationships, the things that matter to you and so on. Okay. And Nanny says, thanks. Love it. Still catching energy. Seems that I need it. We all really need energy practices that help us. Absolutely. It's just like we live in a really energetically complex and often chaotic environment. And that has a lot to do with The fact that, in human design, we understand about how we energetically influence each other on the time, which is not necessarily a negative thing. We just have to know how to work with it and how to manage it. But in addition to that, we've got Wi-Fi, we've got cellular, we've got Bluetooth, we've got all kinds of energetic inputs. Plus, we've got a lot of toxins in our environment. So our ability to, excuse me, to be able to work with our energy will facilitate our ability to meet all these energetic challenges that we have, right? And that includes like what's happening with our emotions as well. Okay. All right. Okay. It made me realize I may have trauma on the right side of my upper body. Always a good thing to become aware of, right? Where you may have trauma stored in your body. And then the light went through and around and hit the back of my head, but in my eye, I could see the light hadn't gone through. Interesting, right? So pay attention to what arises for you when you do energy practices like this, because it can really be pointing. It's kind of pointing a little energy finger to what it would be good for you to pay attention to. Okay, Paula has a question. I've just been aware of the environment category in human design. I don't really work with that, Paula. I don't really work with the environment part. So there's other people who do that, but that's not part of what I really offer. Okay, it was not part of my training or anything like. And I'm not particularly drawn to it personally, but it doesn't mean it's not valuable for other people. All right. Well, thank you to those of you who have been here, and for those of you who are going to watch the replay later. Alex, if you can put the link for the Becoming Sovereign Retreat Center in here again, that'd be great. I would do if this kind of thing that we're doing here today is appealing for you, then I really want to invite you to come and check out what we're doing with the Sovereign Sisterhood. Like I said, you can join the Becoming Sovereign Quantum Retreat Center, and it'll always be free to join the larger community, where I still will offer some kind of an event every month, and you will have access to certain things, but it's definitely changing because a lot of it's going to go into the sisterhood now. So just think about that for yourself. And then if you come in, you'll be the first to know about what's happening with the sisterhood. And if you feel like you would like to connect with others, work with your human design, work with energy practices, work with your creativity, that's really what I'm all about and what I'll be facilitating. But as I said, it's something that you all, I'm going to encourage all of you too, to be bringing your talents, to be bringing your gifts, to be connecting with each other, to be collaborating with each other. Because I think that as the old structures and the old institutions break down, which is a lot of what we're seeing now, and a lot of people are, we saw the great resignation during the pandemic. A lot of people are being like, the way I've done things before, it's not working for me, is to be in an environment where we're co-creating the new. Where we have some gentle accountability, not to be too distracted, to have some, hands on our back, or, a tether. Sometimes I'm like, please throw me a tether. I'm in a downward spiral, right? Somebody to throw you a tether, pull you back up. We go into a downward spiral. And also for you to be able to support others as well, is what we're going to be creating inside of the Sovereign Sisterhood. Okay. Okay. So, yeah. And I think that, Alex, you went ahead and put the link in there because somebody was asking. Okay, great. So the links are in the thing, and you can always email us at admin@ostaraexperience.com, and all of that's on my YouTube channel. So you can always go and find that here if you want. Okay, Barb says she's not seeing the link. I'm not sure what to say about that. Janny, hi Janny. Thank you, Maggie, and I'll listen again and get the energy practice under my belt. Okay, great. Yeah, and just for like, I'm going to take this energy practice, we're going to pull it out, and we're going to put it in the Sovereign Sisterhood. So that'll be something that you can have as a practice that you can do when you want to supercharge a new idea, that your new project or new belief system or something that you're wanting to come in. All right. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for acknowledging. And I look forward. Oh, actually, let me tell you about something else. So next week, I almost forgot. On Thursday, I'm going to be offering 3 keys to creatively living your human design. So that will be on Zoom. If you go into the Becoming Sovereign Quantum Retreat Center, it's becomingsovereign.mn.co. If you come into there and you go to upcoming events, you'll find it in there. And you can just register for it there. And it is free to join. I'll be sharing about some of the ways that I've been developing to creatively work with human design, and also give you a preview of the Sovereign Sisterhood in more detail. Like there's not a lot of detail here, but I'll be giving a lot more detail there. So I do encourage you, if this is appealing for you and you feel like you might want to take the next step, you could come and check that out, and that way you'll get a bit more information about what we're doing there as well. And just make sure you're on my email list. You will be if you come into the Becoming Sovereign Quantum Retreat Center, or if you get my Getting Started with Human Design. Or even if you just shoot us an email, admin@Ostara Experience, we'll put you on our list so you'll know about everything that's coming up soon. Okay, many blessings, much love. So happy to have been here with you today. So this is a supercharged weekend. Really make the most of it. Okay, bye for now.